Hello, beautiful people. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. I am coming to you. This is your girl Nanaya Bua of the Nanaya Bua podcast. Yes, it's another beautiful Sunday, and I'm coming to you with a conversation that, if you check, the conversation is about, can optimism fix politics? Can optimism fix politics? It In today's world, with everything going on, it is so ridiculous that everywhere one looks, there is something going on. From the recent earthquake in Myanmar, which survivors are still being, we're still looking for survivors, to South Sudan and North Sudan, um, issues with you know, pending civil wars, Donald Trump against Iraq, you know, with nuclear threats, for us here in Canada, with the notion that the U.S. and Canada is no longer are no longer what they used to be. So when you and I sit around and observe what is going on in the world, there is a lot of changes that is going on in the world. From Mother Nature to those that we ourselves as humans push, that creates issues for us. But in all this, I want I don't want to take the doom and the gloom and utilize it. If you had looked at my LinkedIn post, I did put that, I do understand optimism at this point in time is sometimes, questionable. It's like, what is there to be optimistic about? But this is what I wrote, and I'm going to share with those that haven't had the privilege of reading it yet, that optimism in the face of dire political uncertainty is not merely an act of blind hope, but a conscious decision to find meaning amid the chaos. If you've ever read Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning, he will highlight that even in the most horrific circumstances, that was during the period Nazis had taken, the Jews and were killing them off like it was no man's business, um, in concentration camps. Those who endured with a sense of purpose had a greater chance of survival. So, which means that within our human spirit is always a chance to innovate, to adapt, and to be resilient and to survive. So, in these times of political turmoil, optimism does not mean that we are ignoring everything, the reality of our lives, of what is going on. Rather, it means that choosing to believe in the possibility of change, of resilience, and human dignity, d- op- despite oppressive forces. So, people, welcome to another episode of the Nanaya Yabua podcast. My intention today is to look at the bright side and challenge the status quo and see what history, whether present history, past history, has, in store for us, what it has shared with us in the sense of optimism. One of the key people I love to, think, listen, and read about is Simon Sinek and his, quest for utilizing optimism in this world. So, utilizing optimism, I believe we can, challenge the status quo with bold ideas, creative problem solving through the power of optimism. We also have to understand that the people who form governments are individuals with ideas, with values, or which aligns with us or do not align with us. All the transitional changes that we are going on in the world as the universe is that some are going utilizing values that they think are positive values, and some are utilizing policies or politics whereby the values serve just a few people and not the majority. But let's come to the big question: if you know, can optimism fix politics? Previously, I would have told you I'm not a political person. I don't want to deal with politics or anything closely resembling politics. But we don't have a choice. So far as you're born into this world, politics is your business. You're living, breathing, talking. Politics is your business. As a black woman, my skin color is political. My hair is political. Everything is political. So we need to figure out how best to utilize optimism to fix politics. Now, before you all think I'm crazy, I do understand that politics at this present moment is a total mess, but there is also a way forward within this chaos. So, what my intent to do is that I did a little bit of research and pull real examples of leaders and movements that have utilized the optimism as an idea, which is not just wishful thinking, but a tool for action, right? So, let's see. For the most part, we look at optimism as a battlefield, and it is full of, politics is a battlefield. It's full of different divisions, conflicts, and to be honest, sometimes frustration. You have people undermining you, people not in sync with you, people who are selfish. And many human beings tend to be selfish, and a few selfless ones. So you begin to have all these things infighting, but then how do you transform it? And these are the lives or the works of few people with optimism that believe that it can be changed, things can change, and are fighting constantly and ceaselessly to change the course of history, to change views and ideas, to change attitudes and behaviors, to educate on the bigger picture, how we can all play in the sand of this earth together with dignity and respect. So as much as I go into history, let's look at Nelson Mandela in the 1990s South Africa. Nelson Mandela was a man that spent 27 years in prison under apartheid. Whoever thought apartheid will end, it did end, irrespective of whatever that anybody wants to say. It did end. The First World War ended, colonialism ended, slavery ended, apartheid ended. You know, he had every reason to be bitter, to seek revenge, but he never did so. Why? Because he chose optimism over fear. See, when we allow fear, when leaders who like to bully, we allow them to bully us and we become scared of them because they think they have the ammunition, they have the people, they have the balls made of steel to bully you and I. When we give in to them, it is the fear that does it. It is not them. So, however, when we choose optimism over fear and focus on unity, forgiveness, and rebuilding, we build ourselves collectively as a human race. We build ourselves as a human race. And this is not a naive approach. It is constant in all these are examples are in history. It is strategic. It may take long, but we will arrive at the answer. So, as people in leadership positions, I do believe that utilizing optimism as a leadership tool can work given the chance, given the opportunity. It can work. It is up to us. When I said I was going to do this, I was going to do this podcast today. I was thinking about how this world, how did humanity get here? How did we allow ourselves to get here? And this doesn't matter in which part of the continent on this big round shaped ball that we call Earth. We are struggling and tagging at each other for resources and all these things, which at the end of the day, we don't take with us. We inflict so much pain on each other and we think it's okay. And we prevent the works of people who really want to help other people in dire need. How is that possible? But back to my conversation. If we allow this to dampen the work that needs to be done, the conversations that need to be had, accountabilities that need to be taken, we will not get anywhere. I remember reading and reading about the Prime Minister of New Zealand, Jacinda Ardern. So she was the former Prime Minister of New Zealand, and during her time in office, how she tackled crisis with an optimistic but action-driven approach. So the conversation is you're not just optimistic, it will get well and sit in the corner. But then there is an action driven mindset, there's an action driven approach to get to the solutions. So whether it was during when there was the Christchurch terrorist attack or the COVID-19 pandemic, her leadership was defined by empathy, resilience, and solutions. So we need more of these leaders. People trusted her and she offered hope, not just empty words, but real action. I know hope is an operative word. We all hope that the nonsense going on in the world will cease. We all hope that another time will come where countries that behaved like siblings will foster those relationships. Or maybe, as Carney said, the ties between USA and Canada are not the same anymore. Definitely, there is changing world dynamics, but how do we transition through it with optimism, with strategic approaches, and leaders who lead with optimism, who have action based solutions to help those of us, the little fishes, navigate? Guys, my name is Nanaya Yabua, and you are listening to the Nanaya Yabua podcast this Sunday evening. And the conversation is, rethinking the world and can optimism fix our politics? The second point I noted whilst I was, mentally processing this conversation was that thinking outside the box in politics. How does one go about thinking outside the box in politics? It's so funny that it took all the things that are going on for me to really get in my mindset into thinking and application. But hey, it was meant to be, and we are here today. Now, you and I know that optimism alone is not enough. We need innovation, like creative problem solving that turns challenges into opportunities. So let's talk about some probably well successful ideas that has, you know, that has reshaped some politics in some part of the world. And I think different governments operate differently, and we're in a digital age. So, how does this digital age help us navigate some of these things? Number one, I do know that the digital age helps us broadcast as much information and narratives or stories as possible. It's given the leverage or the platform to for individuals like myself to tell our stories to the best of our abilities. But let me give you an example of this little country called Estonia. Estonia has a digital government. If you don't know, please you can Google it and search it. It is a tiny European country and it almost runs entirely, its government is entirely almost online. So, whilst other countries are stuck in paperwork, Estonia thought outside the box, and the country is it's sort of some form of digital democracy, or something like that, where you can vote and start a business and access public services all online, and the result is less corruption, more efficiency, and a government that actually works for its people. So if we're looking at some of these human elements that create problems for us, such as corruption, inefficiencies, then we have to look differently at how we are going to think outside the box and utilize the digital age for it. And that is one of the things that um, the government did. So that's optimism in action, that believing it's going to work, finding strategic solutions, creative ways of making it work. So as you believe things can be better and using innovation to make it better. The other point that in my research I came across was another country in Bhutan. Bhutan's gross national happiness index. It's like many countries don't utilize that as a GDP. We utilize GDP to figure out whether the country is going forward or not, whether the country's economy is doing well or not. But this little country uses a happiness index. So as it's utilizing a happiness index, instead of just focusing on the economy, this small Himalayan, kingdom flipped the script. Instead of it created a national happiness index, and by measuring progress based on well-being, environmental health, and cultural preservation. So this means that it was a very radical and hopefully an optimistic idea that it's going to work, and it's working for them. And Bhutan now ranks one of the happiest nations in the world. So I think what we're looking at is that you have to look at who you are as a country, as a people, your culture and values that you hold very dear, and how you can utilize it to make your country, your lives better. So, since optimism isn't about just positive vibes, I wish it was about only positive vibes, But it's not only about positive vibes, it's about action. Without action, nothing works. Without action, faith doesn't work. Without action, hope doesn't work. Without action, optimism doesn't work either. So, how can we as individuals bring optimism and creative problem solving into politics today? That is the question. How can we do that? Number one, change the conversation. Instead of focusing on what is broken, I think what we should be asking is what is possible. It is broken. We know it's broken. Let's solve the problem. What is possible? So, as you and I are common floor members, when it comes to discussing politics, push for solutions rather than just complaints. That is my personal motto as well. I want to hear the solutions you think about, the creativity that comes with solutions, because we all have complaints. But what are some of the solutions that we can do, right? My second suggestion is that if you have innovative leaders, support them. Leaders who think outside the box, take a chance, listen to them, see where they're coming from, and support them. So, you and I, our responsibility is to look for and support leaders who think outside the box, who bring fresh solutions instead of fear mongering. There are some leaders that live and breathe fear. Look for leaders who are optimistic, who are constructive, who are solution focused, who bring fresh solutions, and support them. If you live, you know, within the community you live, get involved locally. I think this is one of the things that we don't do often. We think other people need to do. We don't go vote or anything. If you don't vote, your voice is not there. If you don't are not sitting at the table, your values and your voice is not there. So get involved locally. Change starts small. Nobody says go change everything. No, change starts in small increments. It starts with yourself. So whether it's community activism, speaking, being present, being part of the solutions to move your communities, forward as grassroots activists, that is perfectly fine. It's our responsibility to also vote in local elections and support our grassroots movement. See, optimism is such a powerful tool for action if we actually understand it and utilize it. But optimism without action is absolutely nothing. I'm not going to bore you with so much details. Next week, I will come to you with another topic. But for today, I wanted us to look at the bright side, irrespective of all the challenges going on in the world. I wanted us to look at the bright side of life, to be optimistic, utilize the power in optimism to, to have creative problem solving solutions. So, this is the bright side of life that you and I can take to create change. Change does not happen out of a vacuum. You and I are responsible for those changes in the world. And there are key individuals who have pushed for this change. So let's spread the optimism and solutions, not fear and division. And also, when you get a chance, tell me what's one innovative political idea that inspires you, and send me a message on social media, whether it's on Facebook, Nana Yaya Boa Show, it's on Instagram at Nana Yaya Boa Show, or If you're watching on YouTube at Nanaya Yabua Show and on any podcast platform, Spotify, etc., at Nanaya Yabua Show. So until next time, stay hopeful, stay creative, and keep rethinking the world. That is the only way we can change the world. So please, if you've not subscribed, follow and subscribe and never miss an episode. It's very important that we join in conversation, create communities to change the world. And if you happen to drop a message, just do at Nanaya Yeboah, tag me at Nanaya Yeboah, and let's think about problem solvers. As a challenge this week, you know, instead of just talking about a problem, probably you should also brainstorm one creative solution and share it with a friend or online. And that's it for the day. So I wish you all a beautiful weekend and thank you for being with me this Sunday evening. Wishing you the best at Nana Ya Yebwa